3 Under 3. I'm so glad that you popped by today. Today's video is all about the first trimester with twins. It's been a bit of a wild ride, and it's definitely been a lot different than my experience as a singleton mom. But I'm really excited to share it with you and kind of just go through everything that's happened from the time that we found out that we were pregnant until the end of my 13th week, which is today, basically. Tomorrow marks the first day of week 14, and it's just really, really exciting. We are so happy to finally be at this milestone. I know for most singleton pregnancies, making it to the end of the first trimester means that you're kind of out of the woods and out of the danger zone, and it kind of does for twins. I mean, it's not as certain, but it definitely is a step in the right direction. One more week closer to the end and two really healthy, beautiful, big babies. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you love it and want to see more, don't forget I do post a video every single Sunday, so you can always check back for updates on how the babes are doing and what's new in our life. So don't forget to like and subscribe below if you really enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys. Okay, so I guess it only makes sense to start from the beginning. Week 4. At this point, I didn't have any bump. I had just found out that I was pregnant with 2 big, dark blue lines on a pregnancy test stick, and we were so excited. So originally I decided that we were not gonna tell anybody. We were gonna wait until Christmas time, which would have been 10 weeks for us, and surprise all of our friends and family. However, anybody that knows my husband knows that he is the type of person that once he gets excited about something, that's it. He just cannot keep a secret. And I feel like it was literally as soon as I went to put the stick away in a baggie, because I usually keep them for a little bit as like a keepsake thing. Might be a little weird, but that's something that I did with Amelia, and I wanted to keep this one as well. As soon as I went to do that, he was on the phone calling my parents and telling them all about the fact that we were pregnant, and he was so excited. And I will say I was a little bit annoyed that he did this, because I kind of had plans to, you know, wrap everybody a little gift and inside have a picture of the ultrasound and be like, we're expecting, you're gonna be a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever again. But once it was out, it was kind of a bit of a relief, because we decided just to tell my parents. He just wanted to tell somebody. So I was like, okay, if that's it, then that's good. Week 4 was amazing. I did not feel sick. I felt really good. And I was really convinced that this pregnancy was going to be just like my last one. I was super naive about it. Long story short, it didn't last very long. By week 5, I started to experience a little bit of nausea, and I was really tired. So the tiredness kind of hit me like a brick right in the face. It was like, I feel great, I feel great, I feel great. Oh my God, I can't get out of bed. Like, seriously, somebody pick me up and get me out of this bed, because I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I was wiped. And we kind of didn't plan it well, in that I got pregnant and I was 5 weeks pregnant when I went back to work full time. So in terms of timing for me, it was really hard, because I hadn't worked for a few months because I was off with Amelia and dealing with everything that was going on with her. And we were finally at a good place with her so that we could get pregnant, and also at a good place with her so that I could go back to work. And for me, I found it really exhausting, because not only was I getting back into a new schedule, and I work 7 to 3, and so I have to be up at like 5 in the morning in order to be at work for 7. Having to do that, and Amelia still sometimes gets up in the night. She's pretty good, but we do have nights where she doesn't sleep through, and normally it would be fine, but just that pregnancy fatigue that hit me, it made things so hard. But we did get through most of week 5. I booked my first appointment with my doctor just to confirm the pregnancy and let her know that I was pregnant, and get all the forms and everything that I would need in order to get all my blood work and my ultrasounds done. And I think I did that on like 5 weeks, 2 or 3 days. And then it was about 2 days after I got all of those forms and booked all of the appointments that I woke up in the middle of the night to some spotting. And with Amelia, I had a textbook pregnancy. I had no nausea, no fatigue really, no cramping. I don't even think I had Braxton Hicks. Like, I did not have a single spot at any point. The only complication came when it came time to finally deliver her and they had to induce me. But aside from that, my pregnancy was textbook, like no complications, no issues. So as soon as I saw a spot of blood at 5.5 weeks, I absolutely freaked out. I called telehealth. I woke Joey up in the middle of the night. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I was so upset. So I ended up actually being off work that week because my parents were away and I didn't have anybody to watch Amelia. So I was able to get into my doctor's office first thing the next morning, and she sent me for an ultrasound, and they checked everything and said, you're good. The baby, the heart rate is in there and everything is good. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. They did ask me to get blood a few times for the next couple of days just to make sure my beta was increasing, and it was. So they said that everything was good and they would just see me at, I booked my dating ultrasound at 9 weeks because 10 weeks would have been Christmas Eve and they just weren't open. And then I was supposed to see my doctor actually Christmas Eve. I don't know. It's weird that she was working that day, but she was. So the next few weeks were pretty uneventful. I did not have any more spotting, no more issues. I just became extremely sick. I think it was the beginning of week 6 when my nausea peaked out of nowhere. It was like 5 weeks, 6 days, totally fine, just exhausted. 6 weeks on the dot. Cue worst hangover you've ever had in your life, minus a headache. Like, so tired that the thought of getting out of bed is exhausting, and so nauseated that any movement, sound, anything just makes you want to be sick. The littlest smell, like, I was turned off from everything and my stomach just felt like it was constantly spinning. Like, that feeling of just, I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick all day long. Like, whoever termed it morning sickness is crazy because it's not morning sickness. Mine, at least mine, was from the time I woke up till the minute that I finally was so exhausted that my body just collapsed and passed out. I would be the entire day so nauseated that I felt like I was gonna be sick. And the funny thing is, I don't think I ever actually got sick. I just felt like I was going to be sick all the time. And then it was even after dinner, I would lay in bed at night and my husband would say to me, like, why aren't you sleeping? Like, you're so tired. I'm like, I know, but I feel like any second I'm gonna have to run to the bathroom because my stomach, I'm like, listen to it. You could actually hear it, like, just churning constantly. It was so bad. I can't even tell you. So week 6, I did not take a picture because I just did not feel up to it. Week 7 continued on the exact same way. You can see there's like a little bump coming up there, but it still wasn't really obvious. And I had always been told that with your second, you show earlier. So when I started to show around 8 weeks, I wasn't overly surprised. I was a little bit because I had gained a significantly larger amount of weight than I was expecting to at this point. But I just attribute it to the fact that at this point, I thought I was having a boy. I was convinced. I'm like, no, last time I felt so great. It was a girl. This time, it's a boy. That's why I feel like this. That's why I'm so nauseated. That's why I'm eating only carbs, only bagels smothered with cream cheese. That's all I want to eat all the time. That's the only thing that makes me feel better for 10 seconds. It's a boy. I was convinced. That's why I've gained all this extra weight, because boy moms usually do gain a little bit more because boys are generally bigger. I wasn't worried about it. So at the end of the 8th week, the end of the 8th week would have been like just getting towards Christmas. And being back at work, a lot of people were getting sick. And so I was kind of worried. I'm like, oh gosh, like I've been so nauseated and I haven't been able to sleep and I feel like really run down. Like I really hope I don't get this sickness that everybody at work has. And of course, like clockwork, the beginning of the 9th week, I started to get the scratchy throat and this, just the symptoms of what was to come. But the positive of it was that I don't know if it was that my body was just like, we're tapping out, we can't handle anymore. If you're gonna get sick, then let's let the nausea go. Because it was like, it was a trade-off. It was like, you can have an obnoxious cough and we'll lose the nausea. So I kind of had, I don't know which I would take. I think I would almost take the nausea over the cough because it was so persistent and so aggressive. But it started at like 9 weeks and 2 days, which was the day after my dating ultrasound, which was 9 weeks and 1 day. And that was a really fun and interesting day for us. And I'm really glad that my coughing started the next day, because had I been hacking up a lung the entire time, it just would not have been a pleasant experience. So I told my husband to meet me at my appointment on week 9, day 1 for our dating ultrasound, because he hadn't had an opportunity to come with me for my emergency ultrasound at 5 weeks, and he was really excited and wanted to see the baby. Obviously he was a big part of Amelia's entire pregnancy, so he really wanted to be involved in this one as well, and I wanted him to be there. So he met me at the ultrasound and we waited, and the girl called me, and they always take me in first and kind of do the full exam, and then they call him in at the end and show him everything and talk to him about what they saw. So when she brought me back, it was the same girl that did my 5-week ultrasound, which I was really excited about because it's just nice to know the person that's doing your ultrasound and to be familiar with them. It's not like, oh, here I'm pulling up my shirt for a stranger. No, we've met before. I know who you are. You know me. It's good. So she just brought me into the room and she said, okay, if you could just put your coat and your bag on this chair beside the desk, and then if you just want to hop up on the bed and lie down, and then we can get started. And I was like, yeah, of course, thanks. And without even thinking, I just started taking my coat off and I went to put my bag on the chair. And as I went to place my bag down, I noticed there was a piece of paper on the desk, like literally like right almost hanging off the edge. And on this piece of paper, there was a really big, bright pink Post-it note. And the Post-it note read, Twin A, July 22nd, Twin B, July 22nd. And at this point, I thought my due date was like July 27th. And for some reason in my head, I went to the place of, that was the girl that was in the room before me. That's who that belongs to. She's having twins. Her life is going to be hectic and crazy. Wow, that's a lot. Like, that poor girl, like, that's a lot. And then as I'm taking my coat off, I kind of just, I don't know why, I glanced at it again, and the white paper that the Post-it was on read my name. And I just remember there was that like moment of like, oh my goodness, that's my name. And there's a Post-it that says twins on it. This is not happening. Like, I didn't do IVF. We have no twins in our family. Like, no, this is wrong. And the girl, I think, noticed that I froze. Like, I think I was like midway getting one arm out of my jacket and froze. She was like, okay, if you could just like get your coat off and come lie down. We're on a schedule here. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I took my coat off and I'm like, before we start, can I just ask a question? Yeah, of course, no problem. I'm like, am I having twins? And she looked at me with this really funny look on her face and said, well, honey, like, why did you think you were here today? In my head, I'm like, well, for my dating ultrasound. And then she said to me, no, we did that at 5 weeks. I'm like, oh, well, nobody told me that. Like, I booked this appointment before that 5-week emergency ultrasound. Like, nobody's called me to tell me I'm having twins. Like, this is news to me. And she said to me, okay, like, just calm down. She's like, why don't you lie down for me? And I'll check and make sure there's 2 babies in there. And then we'll go from there. So I took a deep breath and I laid down, and it was about 3 minutes, and it was like the longest 3 minutes of my life. And she kind of did her scan and looked around, and I said, so you know? She's like, yep, there's 2 strong heartbeats and 2 babes. And I was like, okay, deep breath. And then I think I maybe said like 5 words the entire 30 minutes that the rest of the exam was, because I just laid there staring up at the ceiling, trying so hard not to look as stressed as I felt. And I think I went through probably like 10 different emotions all in literally a 20-minute period. It was like shock, panic, denial, just sheer utter stress, sadness, fear, anxiety, acceptance. And then finally, by the time the exam was ending and she showed me the picture and she printed it off for me and gave it to me, I finally got to that place that I am now. I'm actually further along now in the acceptance and cycle. And now I'm really excited. And at that point, I think at the end of the ultrasound, I had just gotten to the point where I was feeling like I could let myself accept it and be excited about it. And it was kind of funny because immediately after all this happened, she said to me, okay, I'm gonna go get your husband now. His name is, and I told her his name's Joseph. And like, if you could just not tell him, like don't give him any heads up, because I kind of want to see his face when he comes in and we tell him that it's twins. And she was like, yeah, of course. Like, I think she kind of was in on this. Like, she thought it was a bit funny that I didn't know. So she goes and she gets him and she brings him in and she says to him, okay, so you're a dad, like you've seen ultrasounds. He's like, yeah. And he acts all confident, you know, like, yeah, I know what this is. And so she pulls up the picture and she's like, okay, here is the gestational sac. And if you look in here, like, can you see where the baby is? And she's like, just point to it for me. So he points to the baby and she's like, good, that's awesome. And then she pans out on the image so that you can see too, if you know what you're looking for. And she's like, and what do you think you see now? And he kind of looks at her and he looks at me. And she's like, do you think maybe you see the same thing? And he kind of, again, he like looks at me and at the screen and then at me. And he has this really like freaked out look on his face. Like what's going on? And she finally just says, you have 2 babies in there. There's 2 in there. And he looks at me again with this look like, dun, dun, dun. Like, are you serious? And I think he actually said like, no, like how did this happen? And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, there's 2. And I had a big smile because at this point, all those things that are going through his head, the anxiety, the fear, the panic, the stress, I've already gone through all of those and I've already accepted them and I've already been there. And he's just doing it. So it's kind of funny to get to watch him go through all of this. So as we walked out of the clinic, he looks at me and I don't even remember exactly what he said. He was just in such shock. And so was I. Like, we were both like, how are we gonna do this? Like, we were expecting to have a family of 4 total. Like, me, you, 2 babes. That was our plan. And God laughed at us. And he was like, ha, you have a plan? Wait and see what I've got in store for you. And now, again, like I said, looking back, I couldn't be more excited. I think it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be good in the end. So yeah, we left the appointment. We went out for a nice dinner and we just decided to celebrate and be excited and just embrace it. And I think that it's taken us a couple of weeks since that appointment to really let it sink in. And it wasn't until I went to my next ultrasound, which I will tell you guys about, that I think it really was like, yeah, there really still are 2 in there. And that's what's happening. But so that was how we found out that we were having twins. And it was really exciting, but also kind of random and strange. So the rest of week 9 led up to Christmas, and Christmas was awesome. I had tons of food because now that I know that I'm having twins, everything I've been feeling is explained. All of the nausea, that was so much worse than I ever expected. The extreme fatigue, the weird cramping, just like the aversions, all of it. Because when you have twins, something I've learned is that you actually have more than double a singleton pregnancy's worth of hormones. And hormones are the nasty things that make you feel all those terrible side effects of being pregnant. So the more hormone you have, the worse you feel, which is why twins are much worse than a single, and triplets and quadruplets. Like my heart goes out to those moms. Like they are superstars, because I could barely deal with this. Like I don't know how they do it. They're amazing. That's all I have to say. The fact that they have more than 2 babies in there, like, wow. They deserve an award. But yeah, so Christmas was really, really good, minus the fact that by the end of Christmas, I really took a nosedive in terms of my health. And I think it was just because when you're pregnant, you're actually considered really immunocompromised. And so my immune system just wasn't kicking in, and it wasn't beating this sickness that I was feeling, and it was really awful. It just kept getting worse and worse. And it actually went on the entire week before Christmas, all of Christmas, and then till after New Year's. It was still persisting, and it was finally after New Year's that it cleared up. But yeah, so I did get a picture on week 10. You guys can see my little bump coming out there. It might also be food from Christmas, so I don't know, but it definitely has grown since week 10. Sorry guys, I have a little bit of heartburn right now. Thank you, babies. But yeah, so Christmas was good aside from getting really sick. And also another thing that made me sick longer was that I am somebody who, even though they say certain medications are okay to take when you're pregnant, like Tylenol, certain decongestants, like cough drops, that kind of thing, I'm really, really not somebody who feels comfortable with that. I can't wrap my head around it. Like I wouldn't give that strength of Tylenol to my 2-year-old, so I don't want to give it to my 2-month-old in my uterus baby. And same thing with like a decongestant. You can't give any kind of cough or cold medicine to a child under 5, so why should I take it when I have babies in me? So I just believe that when you're pregnant, you suffer, and it's for the best interest of the baby. And unless you're like literally on your deathbed and not going to survive to bring them to the world, then you would have to take medicine. But if you are not at that point, I can't do it. I can't wrap my head around it. So I suffered, and shortly after New Year's, I finally it was like one day I was terrible, and the next day it was like, gone, see you later, bye. And thankfully, the nausea did not come back. It's been gone ever since, so knock on anything, it does not return, because that was pretty bad too. So since shortly around the time of Amelia's birthday, I've been feeling much, much better. Aside from being really, really tired, I've been feeling a lot better. So week 11 was really good. And going into week 12 was awesome as well. However, halfway through week 12, I had a little bit of a scare. So as you guys know, I had a bleed at week 5 that sent me in for my original ultrasound. And then halfway through week 12, I woke up in the middle of the night again, and I had spotting. So again, I freaked out, called telehealth. I'm like, no, like I'm almost at the end of my first trimester. This is not supposed to happen. Like, I'm so excited now. Like, I'm having twins. I'm even higher risk. Like, no. They told me, you know, again, take the day off work tomorrow, go to your doctor. So I did, went to the doctor. The doctor was really good. He got me in for an ultrasound. He said, have you done your IPS screen yet? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, you're gonna do that today. You're gonna do your blood work, and you're also gonna get an ultrasound, because at your last ultrasound at 10 weeks or 9 weeks, whenever it was, they saw that you have a subchoroid hematoma. And what that is, for people who don't know, is, for me, it was the best case scenario, because when this bleed happened in the middle of the night, I was up Googling, and I'm like, oh God, what could it be? What could it be? And so a subchoroid hematoma was what I was hoping it was, because basically what that is it's a pocket of blood that forms kind of somewhere in your uterus. It's usually between the placenta and the wall of the uterus. and it just kind of sits there, and sometimes it will just dissolve back into you and sometimes it bleeds out, and that's basically what happened to me. So when I went for my ultrasound that day, they were not able to see the hematoma anymore, and so they decided that that's what the bleeding was, that it had just ruptured and come out, and that I didn't have to stress about anything. It was nothing to do with the babies, and it was totally normal and did not affect them in any way. So at the 12-week ultrasound, which I will attach a picture of, look at how cute they are, baby A and B. They were perfect. They had great heart rates, and we got to do their Nichole translucency test and do all my IPS screens. So I'm still waiting on the results of that, but I think it's going to be fine. I have faith that it's all going to be good. And yeah, it was really nice. I got to see them, and the tech that did it was really fun. She kind of had me move around a bit and do a few coughs, and it got the babies, like, they were like doing a little jig in there. They were dancing. At least baby A was. Baby B was really not cooperative, so I already know they have very different personalities. A, totally bang on. Like, it was like, you go here, and he was like, yeah. Or she, I don't know what it is, but she was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then baby B was like, no thanks, I'm going the exact opposite way of where you want me to go. So we were there for a long time trying to get baby B to cooperate, but eventually they did. So yeah, the ultrasound went really good at 12 weeks, and then past the 13 and 1 mark, and that was exciting because for some people 13 and 1 is the end of the first trimester, and for some 14 and 1 is the end of the first trimester and the beginning of the second. So for the sake of argument, I'm just gonna say that 14 is the end for me and just include all weeks 1 through 13 in my video today. But a couple days ago, halfway through week 13, I actually had the same thing happen to me. So again, it was on a Wednesday night. I don't know what that's about, but on a Wednesday night, I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and noticed that I was, again, spotting. So this time I decided to take a much more lax approach to it and just be very calm and not call telehealth and freak out. I just decided, you know, let's see if this is like the other 2 times where it's just like literally a little smear and then done. And that's what it was. So I think that maybe I'm just going to be one of those weird pregnancies where I have mystery bleeding through the entire thing, and I just have to come to terms with the fact that that's what it is, and I can't get too stressed out about it. I know there are some pregnancies where that's a really bad thing, and there are some where they say it's idiopathic. They don't know why. So I'm just hopeful that that's what it is. I haven't met with my OB yet to talk about it, but I will keep you guys posted because I know there must be others out there who are experiencing this too. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just a little recap of weeks 1 through 13 here at 3 Under 3. I'm very excited to keep you updated about everything that's to come. We have decided as a family that we are going to find out the genders of our babes within the next few weeks. We're kind of trying to toy with the idea of whether Joey and I want to know and reveal it to our families, or whether we want to wait and find out from our doctors and also be surprised by kind of going and doing a reveal party through a bakery or something like that. So I will keep you guys updated as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And as soon as everybody here knows, you guys will know too. So definitely check back. And like I said before, if you love this video, like and subscribe below. I look forward to seeing you guys back again next Sunday. Take care.